Welcome to On the Record, powered by Leaders Lead Network and speakuniversity.org. I'm Tony Taylor, and this platform, it exists for one reason. You, the voter. Every election, we're asked to choose the people who will make the decisions that affect our families, our communities, our schools, our businesses, and our future. Yet too often, we make those decisions based on campaign ads, on mailers, sound bites, and the big, sometimes misleading headlines. I wanted to create something different. On the Record is a place where candidates, they step away from campaign slogans and have real long form conversations about who they are, what they believe, and how they intend to lead once they're elected. My commitment is simple. Every candidate is treated the same with respect. Every candidate is given an opportunity to answer meaningful questions, and every voter deserves the information that they need to make an informed decision. Whether you're voting for city council, school board member, commissioner, sheriff, state representative, state senator, member of Congress, or any elected office, my hope is that these conversations, they help you better understand the people that are asking for your vote. So as you watch, I encourage you to take notes, think about what matters the most to you, compare that to the candidate's answer, and remember that many of our guests, they have agreed to engage with you long after the interview. Now, let's get on the record. Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Taylor. Are you here for Leaders Lead the podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, well, across the world now, they have one thing in common, and that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go. Before we meet today's guest, I'd like you to know that every candidate on this ballot for this office has been offered the same opportunity to participate. Our mission, though, is to tell you not to who you're going to vote for, but to give you the information that you need to make an informed decision. So joining me today is the incumbent for her position, Lisa Parshley, who is running for state rep. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Loving it.
I'm so glad that we are doing this. I wish that we would have been recording before we even started, but here we are. And I'm really glad that the people are going to get a chance to get to know you. And I know typically on most shows, what they'll do is they'll read out your bio. And that's the stuff that anybody can read on the website. But I want to give full transparency to anybody that's listening to this podcast. I am a little bit biased towards Lisa, and I want to give full disclosure. Every time I see Lisa, I get this like warm feeling in my heart. And I'm not saying it's just to pump her up, but Lisa does something really good in the community. She gives care to animals. Of course, as we were talking before, sometimes that's like the common denominator between us all. But she cares for those animals. And I met Lisa many, many years ago, and she didn't even remember me, but she definitely remembered the dog. And the last dog that unfortunately isn't here anymore, my family, we took it really hard. I took it really hard too. But me and Lisa was in the room with me, and oh my God, I never felt so taken care of before. And that is honestly like what I feel like for the listeners, for the people that's watching this, that's what I feel like that you get. Okay, so those are my biases. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
I am so happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
All right. So we're going to talk about the person. We do this in a couple different sections just so that people can get everything that they came to get. Talk about the person, talk about some policy, talk about some leadership. So tell us a little bit about yourself, beyond the campaign, who are you?
You kind of covered some of it. They would say you stole a little bit of my line, but who I am is I'm a veterinarian, but I'm also a scientist. I started my life and my career doing biochemistry because I always wanted to know the answer to why. I'm sure at 5 years old, I was driving my parents crazy. But learning about the world and how things work was my jam and my joy as a kid. And it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you know this, but I was actually legally blind for a little while in my life and had a series of 2 different surgeries and
Oh,
able to see. And then they discovered I was severely dyslexic. So I didn't start reading till 8th grade. And I still struggle with dyslexia. But one of the things I remember clearly is always like walking along the shores in Puget Sound and picking up the little crabs and trying to figure out what was the difference between the little crabs and the ones we ate for dinner. And I mean, the world around me kept me going and kept me happy. And then being able to learn how to read and then learn about it. That's something that a lot of people don't know about me. So I put that out there. And when I went to vet school, it was because I felt like I wanted to give more to the world. I wanted to be more immediate than some of the science can be. And I love animals with a passion. And I've learned over my lifetime, people that love their animals are my people. So that's a little that you're not going to read on a campaign website.
oh, I love it. Would you say that your life experiences like shaped who you've become?
Yeah, I would say that. I think, well, quite frankly, when I was really young, before I learned how to read, I was placed in the class with the kids that had Down syndrome and other learning disabilities. So you grow up, people picking on you, quite frankly. You also learn a compassion and that there's not really a lot that divides you from some other person, and that you all have something good to give. And I think that's a benefit at the time. Was I totally happy? I won't lie. Probably not. But I think it gave me an understanding of human frailty, which I think is very important.
Wow. No, that's a beautiful answer. Um, yeah, and it makes so much sense. It's so simple, but it makes so much sense. When people describe you, what do you think they'll say? And when I say people, I'm talking about like of people that know you, people that are the closest to you. If they say, "Oh, Lisa, da 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 da," fill in the blank.
I would, well, you always want to be viewed one way. So I don't know if there's a lot of bias in this answer, but I will say I'm hoping people will say that she smiles a lot and tries to see the good, even when things are really rough.
Wow. Um, was there, and I think I know this already, but was there a defining moment that made you want to run for office?
Yeah, we're seeing part 2 of that. It was the first presidency for Donald Trump, and
Mm,
I became very concerned that the federal government was going to get quagmired with this very volatile person and the party that had become more volatile, that the states and the local governments would become sort of left on their own. And I love Washington. I adore it. I love Olympia. I love all the towns around it. And I realized, the saying is you can't just, be verbal and shout and yell. You actually have to roll your sleeves up and go do the work. And that's why I ran for office, because I really believe that we need to lift everybody up if
mhm.
we're going to succeed. And local government, Tip O'Neill even said it, all politics is local. If you're in local government, you're at the ground level, you're actually making a difference, and you can actually help people become better people, to when they're having a rough time, they're unsheltered, you can help them back to where they need to go. And you can do the work to lift all people up.
Wow. No, I like that. I like that. That makes me think about, I've had this thing in my head, like, well, if I ever, which I can't run for office. Like, that's one of the things my wife, like, she will leave me if I did that.
She may be smarter than those of us that run for office.
she hears a lot of the stories. But I always said, like, if I would run for office, like, I wouldn't run for office, me personally. But if somebody like got bumped up, like they took another deal and a seat was open in a city, I would sit in that seat and just do the will of the people. And that's would be who I would report to, the people. That's all I would do. But then I think about it and I'm just like, what kind of influence can anybody really have, like, for the city? And would that be boring? Because I just think about like numbers and stuff like that. Is there a is there a significance to that? I'm not trying to undermine this city, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's also your philosophy of a city, because some cities, you can govern in a couple ways. You can govern with the people, having the people be part of your partnership, or you can govern by saying, we think our ideas are the best. And you can tell my bias here, but I believe governments are most successful when they engage and have community members helping them build things. Like, I get to brag a little bit, if it's okay.
Oh, Olympia, this is about you.
Olympia City, it's more bragging about Olympia, but Olympia City and City Council in 2018, 2019 said, we're going to do something about all the people that are unsheltered and homeless, because this is not humane. It's not healthy. We've got so many people hurting, and it's not helping our community as a whole. Just, it's all that. So how are we going to build a plan that reflects everybody? Well, I wish we could take credit for it at council, but it really was the city staff said, well, what if we brought together community members, those experiencing homelessness, those impacted by homelessness, those providing services, city people and business people. You bring them all into a room, PTA, we had school PTA there, and you bring them into a room and you say, here's the problem. You teach them about it, and you teach them about options, and then you give them the tools to build the plan. And what they brought back to us just before the pandemic hit was a masterpiece of what the community wanted for our homelessness response. This was not built by the city. It was not built by City Council. It was the community coming back to City Council and going, here's the plan. And you know what? This plan became so successful that the former Mayor Selby was asked by the Biden administration to come present it in Washington, D.C. And this actually, it was written by the community.
Wow.
And yeah, for example, when we started working on this plan, the small business downtown, when they did a survey, felt like it was right around 30 to 35% of them said we were doing the right thing, which conversely means 70, 65 were saying, But a couple of years into working on this plan and enacting this plan, 65% of the businesses downtown said we were going the right way. And we were taking the roadmap our community gave us. So if you're local government and you do that kind of interaction, one, you do reflect your community and your policies reflect it. And I just think you do actually make better headway and buy-in from everybody, because it's their plan.
Ew. That sounds pretty cool. It's almost like you're essentially the middle person.
Right.
Huh. I like that. I like that. Yeah, like I said, that's the only way that I would ever do it, is just to fill a gap when needed. I have no desire. peace and joy 24/7. That is what I'm striving for. So, and plus the campaign, and that's the next question is, first time when you ran, was there anything that surprised you where you're like, dang, I didn't think it was going to be like this? And the thing that maybe you dread when it's time to campaign.
Well, I can tell you the thing that surprised me actually turned out to be my favorite thing in the world was doorbelling. I was initially very nervous about doing it because here I'm knocking on strangers' doors and introducing myself. And after I got over that, I realized, just like you were saying, doing it for the people, I actually started meeting Olympians at City Council. I actually got to see them and I got to hear what their concerns were. And I got to get, some of them came up with great ideas for things we could do. So, and as I, ran for office again, it was like for me doing a survey of my community. One, how am I doing? How's the council doing? What are we missing? What are we not doing? And doorbelling is so much fun because it allows you to filter through some of the loud noises in the room to really know what your community's saying. Because if you do enough doors, you understand what your community wants and is saying.
Wow, so it's almost like going door to door and getting a report card. I think, and
Exactly.
a report card and like how to fix it.
Yes.
Dang,
Yes.
I like that.
And I'm lucky because Olympia and Thurston County for LD22 is 65% are state employees, which I generally find are very, very smart people. So a lot of times they know the policy better than me. And I come away, when I've had a bad day in campaign, I go do 100 doors and I usually come away going, this is why I'm doing this, is because of the people. So that was I didn't know that would become such a central thing for me.
Wow.
What I would wish we could get rid of, I will not lie, campaign fundraising. I could have campaign finance reform. I'm in. You got me. Because then I will spend more time at the doors. I'll go more to community events. I'll interact with people. That's what I love. I talk to organizations. I work with associations. That would be just a joy to do a campaign then. Yeah,
because it seems like there's like a money grab there for a second with a lot of campaigns, and I'm noticing just from talking and doing this series, the folks that are just like, I'm just not gonna do it. It seems like I'm like, dang man. Remember Blockbuster? It's almost like you hate that, our society is a capitalist society. But if I just said, you know what, I'm not going to play at all and just, I don't know, be in the land. I don't want to be in the land, But yeah.
And I think there are ways to do it. Seattle's played around with some campaign finance reform. I think there are ways to do it. The problem is if you say, I'm not going to do any, and your opponent does,
mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, but it's name recognition. It's like, okay, Tony Taylor versus somebody who never puts their name out, doesn't have yard signs, doesn't have a Facebook or a website, because these all cost money, to do this stuff, to campaign manager. You don't get a flyer to your house, all of a sudden your name is not on the tip of people's tongues. And so if you could find a way to do campaign finance reform where makes it an equal playing field, everybody gets access to this kind of stuff equally, which is why I liked your introduction about making sure everybody gets offered in any race, both of them, for your podcast. So
thank you.
That's the beginning of it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. You think it's too long?
No, I actually liked it. I liked the video too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We all need a little. Sometimes when you create stuff, you're like, man, is it good? Is it okay? No, I definitely appreciate those answers. And you said something that stuck out to me. You said that they're not showing their face. They don't have name recognition. They're not out there. I want to know what you think about this. We have some brilliant people here locally, and freaking even nationally. I've talked to some really brilliant people and all across Washington. But there is a sentiment that people have where I'm just going to rest on my laurels and I'm just going to give you a policy. I'm not going to tell you who I am. That none of that matters. I'm just going to freaking just put my name out there. You want me? Freaking you just come and get me. Do you think that works?
Well, for some people it must, because that's what you see some people do. But I personally think if you're an elected official or running for office, you shouldn't be doing that, because we've talked about, several questions about it's for the people. If you rest on your laurels, you are not getting out there and talking to the people and interacting with the people. And the people need to see you as a human being as much as you need to listen to your community. And if you're sitting back, you're not out there listening to your community.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Let's do a rapid fire really quick. So you just tell me, it could be just one sentence or whatever. What's your favorite local restaurant?
Ooh, Da Nang.
And where is that at?
That's on 4th Street downtown. It has really good Vietnamese food.
Ooh, that sounds good. Favorite place to go in your district?
Favorite place to go? I love Squaxin Park. We still have some semi-old growth trees. You get in there with your dog. It's quiet and it's so beautiful and peaceful.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Yeah,
I think coffee is. I don't have blood. I have coffee in my veins.
when I go out to with coffee with certain friends, like different meetings, like before this, we'll sit down and I always order tea. I don't know why I do that, but every day coffee. Morning person or night owl?
Ooh. I'm naturally probably a night owl, but because of my career and being in the legislature or city council, I've had to become, under protest, a morning person.
Oh, wow. Favorite book?
Ooh, I would have to say The Lord of the Rings, because actually, believe it or not, that's what sparked my interest in reading. And I haven't put a book down. I always have a book with me. Since then. And it started with The Lord of the Rings.
You can always tell a lot about a person by if they're a reader and to get more in depth, what type of books are they reading? Favorite podcast or show?
Ooh. Well, I love Jon Stewart's Comedy Central. Because you get to laugh while you get the news, and sometimes it's hard news, but you get to, release some of that. Podcast, that's a tough one. I like Malcolm Gladwell because he always tackles a particular topic. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like Malcolm Gladwell. He's a very intellectual dude. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about community. So our listeners, our viewers, this should perk your ears up, because this is in my opinion, the meat of the sandwich, because this is like affects all of us, right, including me. So one thing, because you mentioned knocking on doors earlier, as you've knocked on those doors and you've talked to voters, what concerns have you heard over and over and over and over again?
Well, it's a cliche term now, but affordability. People being able to just pay for rent or mortgage, for food, for childcare, healthcare. It was somewhat of a problem in 2017 when I ran first. It was more of a problem in 2021, but now I believe we've gotten to kind of a crisis moment for these things.
Yeah, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. What issue do you personally believe isn't getting enough attention?
Well, right now, I'm going to do a couple call outs to what is being done. For example, Senator Bateman and all the work she's done with housing, and Senator Alvarado for rent control and stabilization. What I worry about, and this goes back to some of the stuff I talked about with City Council, is I believe we're not providing enough help to local governments to adequately deal with the unsheltered homelessness crisis that we're all facing. It's a crisis. It is almost a state of emergency. And the counties and the cities are struggling to do this and do it right so that it's compassionate and effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And so I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, so the way that you would help local and city government would be through legislature, like writing different bills. Is that correct?
Yes, and money, to be quite frank. I mean, I know our state is in a budget crisis, which is hence why we passed the millionaire's tax, and besides which the tax system being seriously broken. But also, the tax system is hurting our local jurisdictions. And now we're asking, like, for example, the last year I was on City Council, we were asking the city of Olympia to spend between $10 and $12 million a year on homelessness projects. The state was asking us to help them take care of those folks who were on the right-of-ways, on exits and entrance ramps for the highway, along highways. So we were piling on to cities all this. So we need to give them some financial help. We also need to be able to provide jurisdictions who don't have the systems like, that Olympia has. And now Thurston County, it's been expanded to Thurston County, and all three of us, Tumwater, Lacey, and Olympia. We're unique. Pierce County has some, King and Snohomish, but what about Lewis County and Grace Harbor and, all the other, Adams County, Kittitas? The thing is, there's homelessness everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And whether we see it or not, it's there. And being able to help those smaller counties, jurisdictions that aren't doing or don't have the capacity, help them to do that. What can the state do? Yeah, funds for sure for the programs, but also encouraging the jurisdictions that haven't stepped up. How can they partner with jurisdictions like ours? How can we help them, either direct advice or help them shelter folks, but the county that they came from has to help us pay for it, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things the state, and to be honest, I think it is the state's responsibility when you get right down to it. I think these are our people that are unsheltered. They are not coming from out of the state. They're Washingtonians. The last couple point in time counts, that's the moment when you count the folks that are currently unsheltered in your community. Last time I was involved with one, 80 to 90% of the people in that count were within 5 miles of their last home.
I did not know that.
Yeah, which says we're not getting people from California or Oregon or Idaho. These are Washingtonians that are hurting. And I think therefore it's the state should take responsibility too.
That's interesting, because that's the rumor in some parts, is that, especially in Seattle, it's like, oh, well, everybody comes here because everything is so lax, and that the liberals are the ones that that are just like screwing it up. So that's why people come here, because they know that they can get free stuff.
When I was just learning about this, by the way, there's some really high-level experts that are actually recognized regionally and statewide and nationally that actually live in Thurston County. So I got educated by some of these folks. I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but what I can tell you is that in cities is where you get the services. You get the behavioral health, addiction services, unemployment clinics, hospitals. So folks, if they become unsheltered, where are they going to go? They're going to go to where these services are provided. Free lunches, free dinners. The churches that are giving out the food, or the county's public health. So in general, if there's traveling, it's because they're traveling to get help. And that's why the cities can end up with it. But I remember when I was on city council, Woodland, which is a very small town down south of us, right, had to deal with, do a system similar to us because they had per capita the same number of homeless folks as we did. So every community has it. It's whether, they have the capacity or the plan to be able to put together services and deal with it.
Yeah. Why do you think it's gotten the way that it's gotten? And I'll give you, as a constituent, I'll tell you, we have this story of me and my wife and my kids. We moved from here after I got out of the military. We moved back home, and then we went back home, and we're like, oh, it's still Indiana. And then we left and came back to Washington because we all were missing the trees and stuff. And then when we came back, and it seemed like this explosion, and we're like, oh my God, what happened? And so that's what I was going to ask you, from your point of view, what do you think happened?
I think it goes to your other question about what I'm hearing at the door. I think Washington is not very affordable, but neither is Oregon and California, which is why those are states also impacted by this. People want to live in Washington, and yet we don't have enough housing. So if we don't have enough housing, the cost of housing goes up. Our basic income is not high enough for the average person to deal with that rising cost. Healthcare is increasing rapidly. If you have health insurance, but if you don't and you end up in the ER, you're going to spend a lot of money. Food is costing a lot. I'm sure you have 2 kids?
2 kids at home. Yep.
And you know what the monthly grocery bill is for you. And just for an adult, it's probably around $300 to $400 a month, just, at a grocery store. And then you add on your rent or your mortgage and your healthcare. And if you have a kid,
I'll tell you as a good example, friggin' 10, 15 years ago, we had six people total in our house. Now there's only 3 people in our house. That's me, my wife, and my daughter. And we're spending the same amount that we were with 6 people and 2 pets.
See? That's it. That last point in time, we would ask folks if they're willing to divulge this. Why were they unsheltered? And the number one cause was economics, meaning they could no longer afford where they were living.
Yeah.
And they were either in a car, somebody's couch surfing, or in a camp outdoors. The second cause was unexpected healthcare bill that literally bankrupted them. And I know that people see mental health and addiction, substance use as it's very visible to people, but that is something that generally happens the longer you're unsheltered. It is not the number one cause of people becoming homeless. They can't afford it. And, so that's why the work that Senator Bateman's doing with housing and all the work we're doing on trying to do rent stabilization, and hopefully Senator Mena soon after the election, her utilities assistance program, and things like that, recognizing we have to make the state more affordable, because if we don't, we're going to continue having people that are homeless and unsheltered. Yeah. And like I said, the longer you're unsheltered, the more likely you're going to end up with behavioral health traumas. And then you're going to start self-medicating, and the first step is losing your home. And then these things happen to you. And the longer you're out there, the harder it is to help stabilize a human being back to where they were.
Yeah. Are y'all working with local government on the housing issue? Because I know there's different ideologies on the way that should run. I was just curious if y'all had some sort of liaison.
Well, we do, and this is not my bailiwick, but I'll do the best I can. Senator Bateman will give you a thesis on this.
But she is the housing person.
Okay. Yeah, and she's an expert in it. But what I can tell you is the state, the legislature has what we call local committees, subcommittees. In the Senate and the House, we have a local government committee. These committees are actually working, a lot of them, on the Growth Management Act and how do we make housing easier to build, and passing laws to remove the barriers that is slowing down the housing. Because as I see if I get this right, hopefully if Senator Bateman hears this, she won't get mad at me. But we're already about 250,000 housing units shy of what we should have in the state. And by 2030, we could be as high as 1 million housing units short of what we need. And when you're short that amount, and for example, we grew 1 million people from 2022 to 2026, there's going to be that stress on needing even more housing, which leads back to the housing costs go up and more people become unsheltered and lose their housing.
Wow, I did not know that. That's interesting. Yeah, something else that when you're talking, it kind of rung a bell with the housing thing. I mean, we got our house, and I know several people in the same situation. We got a pretty good interest rate, and even with having like 6 kids in the house before. 2 empty bedrooms. I mean, it's just empty with us in there. It's almost like we're in a mansion or something. It's weird. But we cannot sell our house, because if we sell our house, we'll lose a bunch, which is crazy. And then our son, he's looking, he would get an apartment. If you get an apartment right down the street, he'll be paying more than what we're paying for our mortgage on our brand new house that we bought just 6-7 years ago. But if we took that same amount of money that we have and we went back to Indiana, we were living in, it was almost a mansion.
Yes.
And I'm not being hyperbolic, because sometimes people tell me I'm dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. It's a fact.
Oh, I 100% believe you. And what's happening too is people that are selling houses in California in the really, really high markets, all of a sudden have $1 million. And what they'll do, so I'm just making a number up here. What they'll do is they get $1 million from selling their house in San Francisco, and they come to places like Olympia or Tacoma, and the houses are like 500 to 750. And then what they do is upbid it, say, because they really want the house, they'll go, I'm going to bid 800,000. I still kept 200. And so what that does is it also escalates the prices really rapidly when people are overbidding the asking. So that's happening, as well as the stress of not having enough housing.
That's interesting. Thank you for explaining that. I know our viewers and our listeners, this will open things up for a lot of people. And I'm sure there's a lot of people smarter than me, but I'm sure that this is like mind blowing to people, because I think it tells us what the problem is. So I appreciate that. And next section, the leadership. I like to think of leadership not as like what everybody thinks that it is. My favorite definition of leadership right now, as far as like the leader that I would say, hey, that makes me feel good, because I think leadership should make you feel good. And what they have in the counseling world is you have a supervisor, and that supervisor isn't just telling you like to go and do this or to go and do that. That supervisor is there for you to really lean on. Like, I don't know what this is, just like how you referred to Jessica Bateman for the housing stuff. You're like, nope, that's the person that can help you. And I feel like, to me, that's leadership on you, because instead of you like BS at me, you're like, no, that's the person. But I do know this, and I do care about that. What is your definition of a leadership?
I kind of, it's very similar. My version of a leadership is also someone who empowers other people to be the best they can be, and seeing and stepping out of the way and not taking the credit, and encouraging other people to step up and challenge themselves. And then if they're struggling through that, you kind of help them along. You don't just walk away and go, sorry. But you help them the best you can. And then if whatever they're doing isn't quite fitting with them, you also are honest and say, okay, this isn't making you happy. This isn't working. So let's shift you over here. So kind of trying to take the 60,000 foot view of a situation and ensuring all the people that work within that ecosystem, whether it's government or business or a vet clinic, making sure that they're all succeeding to the level that they want. And I've always felt that if you're a leader that has to always be called out or take the credit for everything, I always wonder what you're missing with the people around you.
Oh.
And you're not leveraging the people around you, and that as a whole you can be better. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. It makes me think about, I got goosebumps when you said that. I don't know if you've ever talked to the mayor of Yelm, Joe DePinto.
Yes. Not recently, but yes.
He has the same philosophy. I was talking to him, and he said almost exactly the same thing that you said, where he's like, people will come to him with initiatives, or he'll have an initiative, and he don't care about as long as the work gets done, he don't care about who gets the credit. And that was kind of like his philosophy when it came to leadership. It was almost like, because I think of things in clips, right? I'll be honest. I just put y'all together and just have him say the same thing that you said, and he say it like right after. But it was, yeah. For the folks that are listening, check out that episode and then listen to this one too, because it tells you about like the flavor of successful dishes. So this next question, still kind of in the leadership realm. One thing I've noticed in leadership are the people that can change their mind on something. And, it's, of course, like we can all be stubborn at times, but what is something that you're like, man, I was wrong about that. And I'm so glad that person that person scooped me. You think that jump out?
Well, one, I make a lot of mistakes. I think you have to own them. Yeah, I could think of a couple in terms of like being on city council. I could think of a couple votes that later I realized they were wrong. And I even owned one on the dais because a community member came in blaming someone else. And I'm like, oh no, you have to blame me and the council because we're the ones that voted for that. And we shouldn't have done that move. One of them is we overrode the city manager at the time, Steve Hall, he wanted to go through the process that we'd set up to help move a camp that was under the 4th Street Bridge. Okay. And he had everything moving. So he wasn't rushing it. He was doing it as the system was supposed to. And we stopped him. And that was wrong. And later, once we got to sit and talk to the service providers and the staff, we realized that no, we should have just stayed out of that and let the staff do the work. And I think you have to own that when you step in the wrong direction, and not only own it, but learn from it.
Oh, that's good. That was really good. I don't know if I would have been able to own up to that one the way that you did. I was like, egg on face. That says, listeners and viewers, that says something about the type of leader that I'm hearing. I'm sure they're listening to this, like bobbing their head. What I'm hearing is owning up to your mistakes, and then being vulnerable enough to to go a little bit deeper and just be like, this is a mess up, and this is like what we should have done. I think that is how we really change things in community. And I'm just guessing, but I
have another one if you want to hear it. Do you remember? Maybe you don't remember this, but Olympia and Tumwater talked about doing a regional fire authority, which would be joining our 2 fire departments into one.
Ooh, what year?
That was in 2023, I think.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. Got that. Yeah, it was just after the pandemic. I think we did that process wrong, and I own that. I took some votes early on in the subcommittee. We should have brought the people in just like we did for the homelessness plan, and we didn't do that. And that was a mistake. That was as much as watching the really positive way to do it with the homelessness plan, watching how we did it wrong. And that really cemented, we should have done it this way. So owning that, and consequently, when we went to the vote, the public said, no, this is bad. That's because it wasn't their plan. It was ours. And we should have said, okay, tell us how this looks.
Oh, cool. So it pretty much got shut down?
Oh, yeah. We were told a very solid, no, this is bad. And you know what? We set the fire departments up as a city, both city councils, Tumwater and Olympia. We set them up for that because we didn't do a good process.
Wow. Yeah, that goes to show, again, the vulnerability and what I'm thinking about is the power of the people.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
The power of the people. We still have, we're constituents for a reason. I like that. I think that's cool that happened the way that it did. When you're voting on different things, I often think about I wonder what's going on inside of the legislator's head that are like, no, I really want this. When y'all are having conversations and you think that it's a good idea or you think that it's a bad idea, how do you balance that? If that's the way that you're going, even though you agree with it or disagree with it, is that hard?
It is. Luckily, I'm privileged in that I'm serving in the House with a group of Democrats, which is not quite a super majority, but enough of a majority that if we decide to go in one direction, it happens. I'm serving with enough Democrats that are very like-minded. So, and they're very open. If most of us, a new policy comes down and we're not familiar, we weren't on the committee, the people behind the policy are kind enough to educate us to a point where we're comfortable. Okay. Mm-hmm. And does that mean that the conversations are always gentle? No, we're a bit like a family. We can have our little tit for tat, but we're all pushing in the same direction. We're all trying to row in the same direction. And I just feel privileged to be able to be with a group of people that a majority of us in that Democratic caucus feel the same way. So I'm lucky that way. I know that's not true in all states because I've gotten to know some legislators from other states, and it's not always the same. And I think Washington, we're very lucky because a lot of us feel the same way. We respect each other. And I think ultimately most of us like each other. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we're always happy with each other, but
I like
Just
that.
like a family, just like a family, you know.
Even with the Republicans.
I would say, well, I would say, I'm going to give you a quote. Do you know who Cokie Roberts is? She was
No,
an
I don't.
NPR. She was the NPR newscaster. She covered
Yes, I do.
Washington D.C.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about now.
On her interview on the day she retired, the person interviewing her said, "Aren't you going to be glad to be gone from DC because of all the crooked politicians? This must have been really hard for you to deal with for 30 years." And she stopped the person and said, "No, wait a minute. I would say that 90+% of the people that are there for the right reasons. They
Wow.
just disagree on how to go about it. And it's a small percentage that ruin it for the rest." And I would say that's true for the party across the aisle in Washington. Most of those folks, by a long shot, love Washington. They absolutely love it. They just see a different pathway. So, at the state level, we do get away from some of the really big national press problems. But I would say most of the Republicans I respect because I know they love our state.
So y'all are building bridges. That's what it sounds like to me. Instead of setting it on fire, it seems like y'all are really working together, and that makes me think about the bill for pandas. You and I were talking about that,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and we talked about that before. And one thing that I was really inspired by, and this is to your point, was I think is Randy Couture. Not Randy, Travis Couture. I think that's his name as a Republican. And when I saw his name on that bill, I was just like, wow, this is truly bipartisan. And when I was calling around and making all these calls and I was making a little bit of noise. I got a little bit.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, some folks reached out to me and was like, "Hey, this is how you really get it done." And I was like, "All right, thank you." That's all I wanted to do was somebody to listen to me. But there was a Republican, and I cannot think of his name right now, but he was one of the first people that reached out to me. He was a Marine, and he was like, "I'm still in favor of this bill unless something big happens. I'm down with it." And he was a Marine. And I was just like, I took something away from that. And I was just like, wow, like that popped in my head then. They're building bridges there. It's not like get away, leave me alone. Cause it could have been like, hey, get away from me, you nasty liberal. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I want to affirm what you said. How you still doing good on time?
I'm still doing good on time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Because I know it looked like we're going over a little bit. Not going over, but we got like 5 minutes. But this is some good stuff. So
thank you.
As far as public service, what is there a group, or you could say multiple if you want, but is there a particular group that you believe that has been the most overlooked or underserved?
In terms of public service?
Mm-hmm. Like,
there's a few. Enterprise for Equity. Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
They're a group that I'll be honest. I think they're regional, but they could be statewide. But I think they're regional. They help folks with ideas to start small businesses, and their whole you'd have to get their site, so I'm going to probably murder this, forgive me if you guys are listening, but they try to make sure that we're working with minority and women owned and giving them the skills and the education to be able to successfully start a business, because that's also in any community. And you think about going to your downtown or your local area. You asked me about my favorite restaurant. I mean, there's a lot of good restaurants in Olympia, and they were all small businesses at one point, right? So Enterprise for Equity is really trying to reach out and provide the community with all these unique small businesses that add culture to our towns and our region and our state. I really appreciate what they're doing, and they kind of do it unsung. And I
Really?
really, really appreciate it. And I've been trying to call people's attention to them after I sat down. I knew about them when I was on city council, but I sat down with them a couple months ago, and I'm like, oh, we need to get the word out on what you guys are doing.
Oh wow, that's super good. I just wrote that down, and for those that are listening and watching this, I'll do my best to make sure that get in the show notes. Enterprise for Equity, definitely going to check them out.
And if you want a connection, you should have them come sit down and talk to you about it, because I think I just murdered their whole mission statement. But I sat in awe, sitting through a cup of coffee with them, just going, oh my, you guys are doing good work.
Well, connect us. That would be awesome. I could sit down with them and be fancy and drink a cup of tea.
Is there anyone else? There's a ton.
It sounds like kind of like a passion for minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
As far as there needing to be more light shed on.
Yeah. And the services they're providing to help people make this step forward, which can be very scary. Having started my own business, I know how that is. So I have a lot of empathy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. As far as decision making, I'm curious if there was, because I know that y'all have had some issues, or we've had some issues. You see, I'm doing that, y'all. I live here too. Some issues when it comes to like budgets and stuff like that. I was curious if there were budget constraints and you had to choose between two priorities that you deeply care about. Typically, what are some things that you would say, you know what, definitely that issue?
Well, I have to say that I agree with what the Democrats did in 25 and again in 26, which is we really have to value life and death. Okay. The decisions that could actually cause or risk somebody's life, like healthcare, right? Are we doing that? Are we serving that well? Food, things like that. So we have to prioritize that. I do believe in education. I believe that children are our future, and we absolutely should have public education. And then I believe in healthcare. And these are the top things that I think if you really get down to it, we really need to do that. And under healthcare is behavioral health. Then the bottom would be, there's not a bottom here, but then I'd be looking at housing and how can we make sure that we're either building or replacing or renovating enough housing in our state. Like after the flood, making a decision in capital budget that we were going to fund replacing some farm workers' housing that got destroyed instead of a pool in another district. Those are the kinds of decisions that you have to make, because it fits in that affordability bucket, making Washington affordable enough that we're not risking people's lives, we're educating children, and we're getting health care.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. That all makes a lot of sense. We're connecting a lot of dots here today. Let's say we're sitting here a year from today, and like, hey, I want to come back on the show and I want to tell you something that we did, and the people can say, you know what, she kept her word. What would that thing be? What are you fighting for this year?
Well, I'm fighting for putting guardrails on AI.
Okay.
And I'm coming at it from a worker-centric focus, because AI is moving so fast right now in our society that we literally can't wait for 2028 for a new president to actually start saying, what's the ethical guardrails here? So how are these jobs going to be impacted? Are we losing jobs? How are we monitoring people in the workplace? How are we keeping workers' data? I mean, we need to be talking about this. Can AI, like last year, Rep Orbras from up north, he passed a bill that said AI cannot be called a nurse. Things like that are happening. Someone just got a hold of me and said there's a website that you can get veterinary advice, and it's an AI calling themselves a veterinarian. So AI guardrails.
You have the little robots where you can have a conversation with them. It's weird.
Yeah, and kids' best friends. I've heard stories about people even saying their boyfriend or girlfriend is actually AI, which is, we need to have some guardrails in place. This is one of the first major technologies that has hit our world, our country, that doesn't have any kind of guardrails. I mean, as a matter of fact, the federal government is trying to prevent states from putting guardrails in. And
I wonder why that is.
Well, because honestly, the tech companies have the ear of our current president, and they're making a lot of money on it. But we also have to be scared because our economy right now is being propped up by AI. And if that AI bubble bursts, we could be in serious trouble. So it's a big quagmire for me for AI, but I think we need to be getting serious. If the federal government's not going to put some guardrails on AI, we need to. And what's interesting is in states that have started to do that, the tech companies, like the race in New York, are literally putting millions of dollars to defeat these representatives or senators for the state because they don't want guardrails. And I've got a bill that I'm even putting in that says AI cannot have the rights of an individual in the state of Washington. They can't have a bank account. They can't have a license.
That's crazy that you even got to come up with that bill. That's crazy. That's crazy that you even have to come up with that. That's happening. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's crazy.
Well, I got told a story that I'm still seeking if this is valid, but I kind of believe it from what I understand about AI. Because AI is, you give AI a task through the algorithm. So go do this task, right?
Uh-huh.
And the story was this AI was given a task, but ran out of computer resources. So resources to finish the task. So that AI contacted another AI entity. That AI entity went and bought Bitcoin. And once they had enough Bitcoin, the original AI bought more resources so it could finish its task. We already have Citizens United, which is corporations being given the rights of individuals. Now imagine putting an AI into that situation. And you could even have AI who are firing and hiring people, owning bank accounts. So, it may seem far-fetched, but I actually believe if it's far-fetched, then we don't need it. Great. But if we have AI already starting to make moves that we're unaware of, we need to make sure that's in place.
I believe it. That's the first time I've ever heard anything like that. And I think that is 100% believable, because I know right now, as far as me being an entrepreneur and using a lot of tech, I talk to a lot of people that are like, Tony, you got to start doing this. You do that yourself still and make me feel like a chump, because the things that I wake up and do in the morning for my podcast, they in bed living good, because they got literally, I know somebody that got 4 computers for robots, and they use those things. They're on Claude, they're on ChatGPT, they're talking to each other, they're posting stuff, they're checking in with their interns or assistants that are overseas, and then they take that and they're doing some crazy stuff. So I'm glad that you are doing that, and that is really cool. I can't wait to let people know that this is what you're working on. I think that's really cool, especially our audience, because if I use AI, oh my God, I hear about it all day long. And I'm glad that they keep us in check, but I think that they're going to really like that.
Oh, I thank you. And I just one last one that I started in 25, and I'm going to keep going till I get it, is most people don't realize that public employees cannot bargain over AI. They can't bargain whether AI is instituted in the workplace or used to evaluate them. So the state could, or a city or a county could institute AI that one could even replace workers, make their jobs harder or different, and how they get evaluated. Like, what if you are being watched by some AI entity that's making decisions on whether you get a raise, a warning, a fired? So the state and public employees in our state cannot bargain on AI. So I'm trying to push that one forward. That's going to be a heavy lift because you can bet the industry does not want this.
Yeah, they're going to be fighting it as soon as they hear it's coming up.
Yeah.
You're going to be sitting there, and you're going to be sitting there, and all of a sudden, oh, here's a nay. Here's somebody that want to speak against it.
Right. And if you want it, it's not all AI is bad. Here's the thing. Not all AI is bad. But who's the best to know which is the good AI and how to integrate it into a workplace? It's the people actually doing the work. That's what bargaining allows. It allows the management to go, this AI is good. This AI might make things worse. This AI could increase our liability and our risk. There's 2 states in the United States in class action suits because they used AI and in block replaced human beings for service requests, like for the DHS in Texas. They just put an AI bot into, you apply to AI and they determine whether you get services or not in Texas. And obviously, like United Healthcare, it failed, and now Texas is in a class action suit. So in state of Washington, we need employees as part of this decision. Wow,
that's incredible. That's incredibly sad, and I get it, and I believe it. And I think AI is all over the place. I hear, on a personal level, I hear people talk all the time where they're like, "Oh, I asked ChatGPT, and they told me that I should cut that person off," and I'm like, "What?" Like, we're talking about something that really don't have feelings, and like it's telling you to cut people off, and you're getting medical information from it, and now they're getting claims rejected, and it's like us, the consumers, what do we do? Because I'll tell you, my kids get stuff rejected. Like my daughter gets some stuff rejected from insurance company. We know for a fact that they're using AI to determine that stuff. I know for a fact. I can tell. I can tell when I get it and the reasons behind it. There's AI in there. And what we've done is we use, I don't know if you've heard of it, but Claimable AI or Claimable, they use AI. And what they do is they write the insurance company back for you with, it's like prompted, but they got humans guiding it though, but it's almost, it sends it back up and then you get an approval. You pay like $25 for it. And that's the way that they've been fighting or having to fight the insurance company, especially like United and stuff. So it's like they have a nuke that they're using against us, the people, a lot of poor parents that are trying to take care of the kids. And then it's just like, oh, let us get the nuke. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
oh, and then they fight each other. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel bad about it.
I do too. And I do think we need to worry through it. I mean, here's another scary thought. AI used in campaigns, like in Virginia, when they did the redistricting ballot initiative out there, it turns out the No campaign was using AI. That's how Obama's quotes got in there and videos. He didn't give them permission, but they started using AI to put all of this stuff together that was actually mostly false.
Oh my God.
And make it look real.
And having him say some insane stuff. I remember that.
Yeah. And he's like, I know this is not, but we've got to find a way to make sure people know this is AI generated. No, and we did pass that in the state. If you're using AI to generate something, it has to be noticed. But we got a long ways to go.
What if the voter is listening to this and they're like, but Lisa, I love AI. Why you want to take my AI away from me? It's almost like the gun situation now. Take the AI chat GPT out of my cold dead hands.
Well, I'd be saying, if you want to use that, that's fine, as long as you're not harming another human being. I'm okay with it. What I'm trying to prevent is AI being used to actually harm folks by either, impacting their jobs, how they're being evaluated at work, the accountability. What is the accountability to that chat GPT that you're having a conversation with? If you want to do it, that's your risk, but we also have to take care of the workers and the people.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. All right, you satisfied that in me.
Okay.
Because I'm one of those people.
Hey, I'm an oncologist, and I know that for us to cure cancer, we're going to need AI, but I just want to have the right ethical guardrails.
Okay, awesome. I think that's good. Is there a question that, like, if we were to close this up right now, but we're getting there, if we were to do it and we stop right now, is there a question after where you'd be like, man, I really wish Tony would have asked me this question?
I think it would be about the budget for the state and how are we going to go about fixing it, because this is well, let's put it this way. Our tax system is 93, 94 years old. And in that 93, let's just say 100, it's easier, 100 years old, the tax laws have been layered in like wallpaper on an old house that keeps being put on top of it. And unfortunately, it's trended toward regressive, which means most of the people who are lower middle income are paying a higher percentage of their income towards taxes than those that make the most. I think the figures are in the lower quarter of our state income, they're paying around 14% of their income to state taxes, where if you make in the top 1%, you're not even paying 4%.
That's by design, ain't it?
Yep, it's by design. And if you go look at why this tax system was put in place, it was a state initiative in the 1930s. I think it was 33 that the public overwhelmingly voted to put in an income tax in the state of Washington. The Supreme Court then overturned it based on their interpretation of the Constitution, not because the Constitution says you can't have income tax. It was their interpretation that income equals property. Okay, I know this is pretty technical, but the people spoke saying we want an income tax. Supreme Court said, no, we think income tax is unfair and it's not constitutional. And then based on that, we built this tax system that became ever more and more and more regressive. And it also does this. Every time our economy is good, we have lots of money. And every time our economy is bad, we really get hurt. So we're going through these cycles.
High or rolling low.
Yep. And that puts us into bad situations. When we have enough money, we fund policies and we do great. But then the money goes away and we have to cut them all. And then we bring them back up. And because the people in our state are hurting and we need to put more services out there, we talked about affordability. We need to help more and more Washingtonians. How's the best way we can do this? Is fix our tax system, fix our budget so that we can adequately provide services, education, healthcare, food, you name it, for Washingtonians. But the first thing we're going to have to do is untangle that tax system. We began with the millionaire's tax. It's a $1 million deduction. If you're a Washingtonian that's making $1.2 million in the state of Washington every year, so you're making $1.2 million a year, you're only going to pay taxes on that $200,000, and it's around $21,000. But if you went to Idaho, you're going to pay income tax from $1 all the way up to the 1.2 million. You're going to pay 4 times that amount to Idaho if you're making 1.2 million. So we give a $1 million deduction. It only is going to be hitting less than 0.5% of Washingtonians. It's a very small number of Washingtonians are going to actually be having to pay this tax. It's not going to harm businesses. But at the same time, we can do the working family tax credit. We can do free lunches and breakfasts for all school kids. We can exempt sales tax, hygiene products, and over-the-counter drugs.
Mm-hmm.
We can exempt B&O tax for low grossing small businesses. There's so many things we're going to be able to do that's going to actually, I think, push our economy, because it's going to be lifting people up with this tax.
Tell me, because I actually had a conversation with a gentleman that was getting signatures, because that's what that's what's happening right now as we speak. They're getting signatures, and I actually heard from a gentleman that I talked to yesterday, where he's like, "Yeah, we got all these signatures, and we're going to go and we're going to slap them on the desk. The reckoning day is coming." Why is there such an uproar over that with people that I know for a fact, based off of what you just said, it won't affect? Why is there such an uproar over that?
Well, first I have to say the signature gatherers, for the most part, are paid by Brian Haywood. Okay, there's paid signature gatherers. Second, there's Brian, first off, he was against the capital gains tax, and he's a billionaire. He's mainly worried about him being impacted by this, but that's a side point. I think they're using a talk point.
I think that's a good
point. It is a good point. It is. You're getting paid to get signatures. And I've had people ask these signature gatherers if they believe in what they're getting signatures for, and some of them say no, we actually like these things. So, but it's money, and people need money.
Damn.
But it's the talking points that we see out there that are scaring people, that we're going to lower the $1 million deduction, that we're going to put an income tax on everybody. No, we're not. No. We've already got a governor who said he would veto it. We have no intention. There's nothing in there. That's a no. We also have a commitment to the community on that. The other thing that they're worrying through is people and leaving the state. Well, actually, Massachusetts, who passed a very similar bill, several years later, went back and looked at the number of millionaires and billionaires in the state of Massachusetts before the tax was passed and after. They actually have more millionaires and billionaires in the state of Massachusetts than they did before they passed this tax.
Oh.
And you might ask why? Well, millionaires and billionaires want to live someplace nice. They want to live someplace that has good services, safe places, good healthcare, beautiful communities. Well, how do you pay for all that? You have to pay for a lot of that comes through taxes. And the schools are good because they got adequate taxes. Small businesses are supported so they can potentially have the potential to become millionaires if their business takes off. So the whole community in Massachusetts is lifted up by doing this. And they discovered, yes, we have more millionaires and billionaires. So the money flight has been shown to actually not be real. And like I told you about, if there's 42 other states with income taxes, we're the only one in the United States that gives you $1 million deduction, which means very few of us are ever going to pay income tax in the state of Washington.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. You mentioned the governor. I actually got a call out, and it looks like he's coming on the show. What should I talk to him about?
Well, if you want to talk to him about this, he's already stated very clearly he will veto anything that changes that $1 million deduction. So he's good.
And I think what power to do that.
Oh yeah, and we don't have enough votes to overcome a veto. So he's called it out. I would ask him if, what else he sees as a way to right size our tax system. Because, think about it. If we could, besides the working family tax credit, what else can we do? I mean, I hear California is looking at changing their B&O tax from gross to net, which is how much money a company makes, and then exempting below a certain amount, which once again protects small businesses. But at the same time, for example, in credit unions versus like a national bank, the credit union net is small and the national bank is huge. So who's going to pay more taxes? Once again, you could do it in a manner where the first 5% is deducted. So if you make 25% profit, you're still only paying taxes on 20 because you get that 5%. There's things we could do. There's tax exemptions and considerations. We got over 600 on the books. We need to go look through those. And, are we giving the wrong exemptions? Could we just in block take them all? Or should we go through chunks and remove them to increase? I mean, I want to know there's a plan forward, and I'm going to be working on it to right size our tax system so everybody pays the same amount. Everybody pays their fair share. The millionaire's tax is the first step to getting towards everybody paying their fair share.
That is something that I will bring up. So as our final question, as we wrap up, and I appreciate you breaking things the way that you've broken them down. And I think the viewers and the voters, they're going to walk away from this way more informed. But before we wrap up, one final question. And I ask everybody this, if this was the last time that the voters were going to hear from you before they cast their ballot for your seat, what would you want them to know? I mean, oh man, I'm looking at this podcast. Oh, Lisa's talking to me. Wait a second, honey. Wait a second. What? I'm going to put you on the screen, and I want this to be the last thing that they hear, and then we'll close because I want you to have the last word. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you. First, I want to thank Tony for this opportunity. And next, I wanted to let everybody know, since I first ran in 2017, I've kept close to my heart the reason I even did that back in 2017, which is something my grandfather taught me. And that is, we don't leave people behind. We help all people. We lift all people. That our communities will be judged by how we treat those with the least, not those who have the most. And I have used that in service to City Council of Olympia. I have used it for one term in the State House. I believe in it. It is my foundation and my grounding for the policy work I do. I work for my community, I work for my region, and I work for my state because I love all of those. And if we have a hope in these tumultuous times right now, it's in the local communities. It's living in the people that are doing the work here. And I view this position as just an extenuation or extension of my public service. Thank you for letting me serve, and I hope I can do it again.
That was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing.